Hello and welcome to the Voice to Heal, Get Real and Feel podcast. Number 3 is today on drug addiction abuse, and my wonderful guest is Stephen Boynton. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for coming in and being brave. And I just want to share briefly that these are new and different, and we go with the flow, and these aren't structured, and we can't pre-plan before we talk and share, because what makes this an incredible podcast that's not like other podcasts is that you will be actually part of this divine healing session with each person that comes in and speaks and shares. And we were talking off camera before, saying that we've waited our whole life, in a sense, to come here to speak, to share with everybody that's watching and listening. And so I just want to thank you for being brave and coming on today and revealing from your soul and bearing your soul in bravery today, Stephen. So thanks for putting your hand up, because you said to me in your email, it is with great love and some hesitation that you write concerning the post I made about Voice to Heal, and then you wrote regarding the many years of drug abuse, particularly the prescription drugs, and the years of getting stuck in a loop with them. And then I emailed you back and said, oh, this is close to my heart too, and this is your podcast show. Yet, as I said, that I will also be sharing, we'll be flowing and talking and weaving together. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming on. And I want to start with, where are you from?
My name's Stephen. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your hesitation about the drug abuse addiction? What brought that to the forefront when you read about me asking, when the call was put out?
I suppose it was just going publicly with all of this because I've held years. I've talked privately with a few people here and there about it, but to take such a big step and to put it out there publicly for everybody to hear was very terrifying for me.
Mm. Yeah. And now that you're here?
Yeah, a little bit of nerves, but I'm so excited, and like you said, um, just the overwhelming sense that every moment of my life has led to this moment now, to where I get to share it and I get to heal from it on some level, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Oh, me too. I want to hear. Tell me a bit more about, a little bit of your story. What's the first thing that comes to share about this for you? Because you said prescription. Mine was prescription as well. So where are you going to start from with this?
Well, I suppose we'll start at about the age of 12 or 13. It kind of started, my father would hand me just like a half of a Loratab or a half of an Ambien, or some kind of prescription that he had been prescribed himself. And
For, I don't know what those names are unless I went and looked up. We're in
the
a different state.
Loratab probably, it's like a pain medication. The
Got it.
Ambien, sleeping medicine, and then there was also like Klonopin, which is like an anxiety medication.
At
And
that young age, starting off early. So, okay, was that to keep you quiet? And so you said your dad, where was your mum?
she was busy, just taking care
Yeah,
of the household, and that was always
okay.
the case growing up. She was always babysitting other kids, and so I never really called them mom and dad until I was a teenager. I didn't really feel like I fit in, so I called them by their first name until I kind of like had to train that out of myself. And my
Oh,
dad was always working, and he wasn't necessarily present most of the time, but I see now that he was kind of wrapped up in his own
yeah.
addiction. It started much earlier for him. And so here and there, and it was just a random thing, and it wasn't to keep me quiet or anything, but just one day he put his hand out and just dropped a little pill in my hand and said, "Take this." And so, and I look up to my father and I love him very dearly. And so I would take it, and then this is it's the first I had ever experienced anything like that. And it wasn't to numb anything at that point, but it was like, well, he's doing it, and so it must be okay. I'm going to try this and I'm going to see where it goes.
Of course.
Yeah. And it kind of, yeah, it kind of just was sporadic at that age, 12, 13, and no real schedule to it or anything, but occasionally just, would drop one in. And then I found that as I got a little bit older, maybe a couple years would go in, then it was almost as if I was kind of like waiting patiently, like the little lapdog for a treat. You know what I mean? Just
Wow.
hoping maybe he would put his hand out and he would have like we'd have a family outing or go to my brother's football game.
Wow.
I hope maybe he'll hand me a half of a Lortab now because by then
You know what I'm picking up? I'm actually picking up anger right now. And as you're talking, I'm blowing breath. For those that can't see, I'm going, because well, there's actually anger. You may not be aware of this, and Stephen understands and knows how what I'm picking up is above and beyond words. And I just want to take a gentle moment to say that energies within here are beyond words for advanced souls and forerunners. So anyone that's listening, watching today will get an instant upgrade of energy. So this is the moment where I go, Stephen, and I will just get back to you and I, Stephen, I'm actually feeling anger for what happened back then. Are you aware of that? Can you feel that, identify that right now? What's the anger?
um it just there was just an anger because I didn't know
Mm,
how he could do that, how he
okay.
could to put me through that um at the time. I just didn't understand.
And it's coming up to release right now, actually.
Yeah.
It's coming out because I can feel that you're emotional. I can actually see it. So we're going to release that anger because you're actually publicly voicing into healing to release it. And that's not cliche to say that, that's true. This is very, very powerful to come in here and speak. So again, thanks for being honest and saying about that anger, because it's time to let that shit go. It's time to shift that. And that's why you're here today. And I know you know this. I'm explaining it for the benefit of others. And
Only because I had thought I had let that go. But no, I could
well,
very
you did, but until we get together and we do it in this energy space, again, this is the power of these podcasts, is it will reveal something bigger on a grander humanity size scale. And that's the benefit that you get in the healing on the bigger scale. So yes, you did. And that, as you know, I hold a space of 10D, and it's not, I'm greater than you. We don't work like that. It's unconditional love. It's taken me 30 years to earn this. And so I know that you have that respect for me and I have that for you. Again, this is for the benefit of others. So that's why. So you're now releasing it globally on a bigger scale. And by you coming in here brave enough today, releasing just that will help others that are watching this to have that energy in their field for when and if they ever get to that point. That's how you're assisting others by coming here today. And what are you feeling right now?
I'm happy that I could be of service.
Yeah. And I felt peace,
Mm-hmm.
some peace come in there. Let's keep going. Let's keep going with this. That was beautiful. Let's keep going. So then you were then lining up, hoping he'd give you little tidbits, like you said, like a little puppy dog waiting for the next bit, because it was like, were you, to me, that feel like the, the addiction. Are we there yet? Can I have some more? Was that feeling? Yeah, you keep going. Go.
Oh, and
Wow.
eventually, it got to the point where, and this is probably when I got closer to about 16, 17, somewhere in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be a lot more regular. And
Mm.
got to the point where I would go and they had the medications locked up, but I would go and sneak in their room and I would steal the key out of my mother's purse. And then I would go unlock the cabinet and then I would take several out and then I would have a few for the next day. So no longer was I dependent on him giving me a treat. I just kind of bypassed that and I went and took it for myself. That went
Everyone else was doing the liquor cabinets. We were all doing the liquor cabinets and bits of the bottles, and you were hooking in, getting the keys in. And also you already had the addictive energy in you, because I have a highly addictive energy as well. And then we channeled into other things. So that I was triggered by something very early. One of my addictions was gambling addiction, and not taking away from what you're saying, only adding. And I won something very early, and it triggered that excitement in me at a very young age. And so, and yours was triggered. And I just want to let people know that you have a highly addictive energy. It's a superpower once you understand it and work with it. So you already had that in you. So yeah, so you got the key. Clever. Clever 16-year-old, and you even planned it ahead. Yeah, keep going.
I
I'm
would
laughing, but I'm not laughing. I'm laughing because it's just, oh gosh. Anyway, you're good. Keep going, darling.
I would carefully, place the key
Yeah.
back in, keep everything exactly
Oh
the way
yeah.
it was, bottles of alcohol, take my mental picture. Okay, that was there, and then I would go
Yeah.
and put it back, and then I was good, and then I would go to school, and I began taking these pills at school, and so I was kind of just numbed out, just kind of walking through the hallways, floating, and it was at that point where I was no longer comfortable within myself without some sort of medicine, some sort of medication in me. And eventually they found out that I had been taking the stuff out of the cabinet. And then there was a little bit of a reckoning. And at that point, the the withdrawals had already begun with the Loratabs, the pain medications. I had been taking them so regularly at that point when I stopped, I couldn't sleep. The restless legs.
Course not. Oh, the horrors of that, the restless legs, everything else, the cold turkey, it is just disgusting to go through. What else did you go through physically, sweetie? Wow.
Just sweats, shakes,
Yeah.
just not good. And then at that point, I took it upon myself to find other sources. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the crazy part is at that point,
Yeah.
no longer was I necessarily receiving like a little treat from him, but
Yeah.
we were in cahoots to where once I would find a source for some kind of pain medication, I would get a hold of him and say, "Hey, I found this. Do you want some?" And then we would pool our money together, and we would go in on it. And so, in that way, like we were still connected, very much energetically with the process. And this went on for many, many years. And it slowly spiraled into from Lortabs into like OxyContin and stronger medications. And it it went on for a very, very long time until eventually, um,
Wow.
after addictions with the pain medication, after addictions with the anxiety medications, then I would just go to doctors and I would invent problems. I would invent back pain, or I would invent a cold or a cough so that I could go and get some cough syrup, so I could go and get some kind of muscle relaxer, anything. It didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I was a regular at doctor's offices, and I had stacks of invoices and bills from doctor's visits, and it that just became my way of being.
Wow. I just want to take a minute with that, because at the age of 16, where you're learning, developing, growing, you masked and you self-elevated, as in self-elevation, you know what I mean, from the meds they take you out of your body, as you said, you were floating. So what happened with your inner emotions during all of that? What was happening emotionally in your life during all of that? What was that's incredible that you and your dad. What was happening for you in your personal life?
I did not have many inner emotions. I did, what's funny, around that same time I got mononucleosis, and I was very ill for quite some time. And I had a whole bunch of like swollen lymph nodes, and they didn't know
Wow.
what was going on for 6 months before they actually tested positive. So I didn't know, I was a little panicked there. I didn't know if I had some kind of lymphoma or
Yep.
whatever was going on. But as far as the emotions goes, I didn't have them because I would just suppress them. That was my go-to. I would feel something, or And I would just, nope, I'm not even doing that today because I wasn't emotionally prepared to deal with those emotions. Like it had gone so far at that point that I would just mask it before it ever even became something that I could look at.
So how did this go when this caught up with you? Because that can only be done for so long. So I'll let you keep telling your story from there. Because what I'm asking now is if that detachment, man, that must have hit you hard. Keep telling your story, keep
That's
sharing.
recently. And I mean, it did catch
Mm,
up in little increments because at some
yeah.
point, um, probably after maybe around 20, after, and this is after like just going hard and heavy and taking everything I get my hands on. And not only that, like we're talking smoking pot and whatever
Yeah.
else I
Yeah.
do
Chuck it in.
to just add fuel to the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
But at some point, I realized this is not sustainable. I need to take a step back. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
I went to a pain management doctor and I got on a prescription that is called Suboxone, which is a buprenorphine. And so it's essentially like a functional heroin, but it has a opioid blocker installed into the medication so that if you were to take some other opiate, it would just throw you into an immediate withdrawal and make you ill.
Is
So
that a bit like naltrexone in the old days? Naltrexone was for addicts. You know a little bit more about this than me. I worked with addicts years ago. So it sounds a bit along those lines, yet it sounds like it's something else, a more updated version.
yeah, I think it's a very similar thing.
Mm,
It's the buprenorphine, and then the naloxone is the other component as the blocker in there.
yep.
But eventually, I got prescribed that myself. So no longer
Okay.
was I having to seek that out from other people. I went to the doctor and then I got my own prescription. And at first it was tablets, and it wasn't, and it's supposed to be a sublingual tablet, but that wasn't
Mm.
enough. I would crush it up and I would snort it.
Because you're just so gifted and talented and clever. Yeah, way to go. Keep
So
going.
that in some way was my step back from the edge of going over. And I knew that
Okay.
heroin was never an option for me because I knew had I taken
Yep.
that step,
Yep.
then there was no return from
So
that.
you had a level of consciousness in there during this. This
Yeah.
is very interesting. Your journey is very different to anything I've ever heard from anybody else.
Mhm.
And I've spoken to a lot of people about addictions and stuff over 20 years, I'm telling you, and more. So yours is very interesting. Gosh, I'm glad you came on to share about this. Keep going. I'm raptured.
I just I kept
Wow.
taking this Suboxone and it served me for many years. And I was probably on this medication for about 15 years. And just it was part of my daily routine. At some point I stopped snorting it. They changed the formulation to a sublingual film, which was great for my sinuses and everything else. It kind of gave that a rest, but and I would just place this under my tongue morning, night. Eventually I kept working my dose up higher, higher,
Because
higher,
this
and
is another drug. Is that another drug with the blocker for other harder things? Like, is that still another drug?
oh yeah, it's
And
still a
and what's
strong.
it prescribed for? For
Well, it's
people that are what, ex addicts that are reducing? Is that what it's for? Yeah.
yeah, so it's that, but it's also for ex-addicts who are still in pain. It is a very
Got
strong
it. Got
painkiller,
it.
but
Okay.
it doesn't have the full effect like
Got it.
an OxyContin or heroin would have. Like it's just a mild dose, but it has a 75-hour half-life in your body. And so you can feel one dose for a very long time.
So you weren't taking it for pain in the physical body. You're actually taking it for the addiction to get that detached feeling from when you were a child that kicked you off. Yes, that's why you were taking. So that's a bit different to others that I've known. That's interesting. Keep going.
I didn't that's just it. Like once the
Yeah.
withdrawal started when I was 17, 18,
Yeah.
it kept becoming more and more. The taxes just kept building up, and I wasn't prepared to deal with it. And it went on for close to 20 years where I just kept putting off those taxes, knowing eventually that that bill would become due.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and
Jeez.
all along, I was prescribed Klonopin, which is a
Yeah.
very strong anxiety medication. And I was talking to my family doctor about this, and he's looking at my medications, and he says, "Well, you're taking, the highest dose of Suboxone that you can take, and you're taking the highest dose of Klonopin you can take." He said, "There is a very good chance that you will just stop breathing in your sleep. I just have to let you know that." And it didn't even phase me. It was more like, "Okay, can I have my paper now so that I can go and get my drugs?" Kind of feeling.
So they gave you, I've heard what you said, and I'm not taking it lightly that you said that they said you could stop breathing. But so how come they prescribed it? Did they say, are you in pain? Like where did they get the authority to give that to you? Like I'm
Well,
trying to, mm,
at that point, I
yeah,
had so deeply invested myself in inventing these pains. I did start
I got it.
I did start to have very physical, very real
I've
pain.
actually done that as well once, and it scared the crap out of me that I could
Yeah,
actually induce a physical pain. And I did it once and went, whoa. So you're quite a powerful person. You're quite a strong human being. And to be talking to you here today is quite incredible. So what a creator. Keep going. I just wanted to understand how come they gave it to you. It's because you
yeah.
bullshitted. You freaking lied.
I
You did it to get what you needed to get to detach from reality in life that catered to your addiction that came at a very early age. Keep going. Wow.
I lied until the
Yeah.
physicality caught up with my lie, and it manifested as real pain, and it
Uh,
manifested
oh
as
dear.
real anxiety. And so at that point, I had created a very real need for these things in my life. And s and they were just providing the Band-Aid for me at that point,
However,
so
could that have been the anxiety? I'm just asking, could that have been the anxiety underneath from when that was suppressed when you were younger that finally came up too?
it very
I
well
just
could, but I wasn't prepared to look at it yet.
I got it. I got it. It may be a bit of both, is what I'm actually getting. I'm just tabling this for you. I have a feeling it's a bit of both because you can only suppress that so long, that detachment from the childhood stuff. And then, as you said, after so many years of saying that, you actually induce that. So it's also from your childhood what was suppressed as well as what's coming up now, Stephen. It met, as you said, you knew it was like a circle that opened and boing, there it was. And the circle did this completion. And then what happened from here?
Well, at this point, I was just, I had assigned myself a life of misery, and I just thought that there was no way around it, that this is my life, and
How
eventually,
old were you at that point, darling?
um, this was probably about, mm, 9 years ago, so
Okay, it gives us some context for us to understand the timeline of this.
yeah, I was probably about 27 at that point, and I thought maybe maybe in the 25 to 27 range, and I just thought, well, at that point, I had gotten off of the anxiety medications, so it
Well done.
was no longer the benzos and chasing that dragon. It was just the opioids and whatever kind of weed that I could get a hold of to smoke with it.
Okay. So just briefly, what was happening up to that point in your late 20s with work and relationships while all that was happening? What was happening underneath with all that?
I had recently gotten married, so I had been in a very rough a deep relationship that ended very quickly, and it ended because I ended it because I knew that I wasn't going to get off of the anxiety medications and the drugs unless, because I was using this person as my crutch, and it was a
Yeah.
fallback. So that relationship ended, but I was still very heartbroken. And so I met somebody else within a few months, and I rushed into a marriage with this person.
Yeah, I did that a couple of times myself, Dal. So just to help you feel a little bit more comfortable with that, what we do, yeah, keep going.
And then I ended up having my first kid about a year after that. My daughter was born, and
Beautiful.
that was about the time I remember about the last time that I took the anxiety medications when she was born. I was prescribed a bottle of 60 pills, and I took them all in about 6 days. And she was a born. And I was not present. I could not keep my eyes open to save my life. And I don't know how I was able to pull through enough to make sure she was taken care of.
I see a theme of really this being your journey and part of your journey, and the second marriage so meant to happen to bring your children into this world. And because that's part of your change as well. Even in what you're saying now, it's because I'm combining what you're saying with an energy, and you can say spiritual aspect as in the word holistic aspect to this on a higher level, that this definitely happened for a reason, again, to lead you here today. But keep going, more's going to unravel. So you had your first child, you had all that medication, and then keep going.
Then I I knew that I had to make a change, and so the anxiety
Mm,
medication had to go away, and it was those were almost more difficult to quit than the pain medication.
isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Because at that point, when you stopped taking that anxiety medication, you thought you had anxiety before. Oh no. Once you off all that stuff, and it became, and I even had a seizure while I was at work one day, because if you come off too quickly,
Oh yeah.
you yeah, you can have a seizure, and it was a real problem. But eventually I got off of that, and I kind of put my faith into a medicational psychiatrist.
But I
And
just want to say, well done for that. I really need to acknowledge to people that you're talking very lightly about detoxing, about what you said before, about what you just said now, about the doctor telling you. Now, these are not blasé, casual statements you're throwing out. I just want to let people know, just take a moment to feel into the depth of what you're sharing with us, Stephen. We're not sharing from the head, we're sharing from in here. This is a big deal, what you've just shared. All of that is massive. And I know we're skimming over to give people a story, but because I've been through something myself, I want to acknowledge, well done for the guts and the bravery with your firstborn, with coming off the anxiety meds. Because some people get caught, they can't do that because of the fear. So I just want to congratulate you on that. Over to you. What are you thinking? What's happening
uh,
for you just then?
hmm, I'm
Well,
feeling
just
I'm so happy that that I was able to get to that point.
yeah.
And I'm grateful for the child coming into my life, because
I have tears with you. I can feel your tears from here.
I feel that had she not come in, I would not be here today.
What a blessing. I'm just honoring that and just taking a moment with you. What's her name?
Audrey,
Oh,
Audrey Bell.
oh, look at you go all gooey talking about her. That's beautiful. So, whew, big turning point. Keep going, keep sharing,
So at that
please.
point, I went to the medicational psychiatrist,
Yes.
and I laid it all on the line. I said, you know, I can't keep taking these anxiety medications. I don't feel normal. What can I do? And then he started prescribing me like SSRIs, like Wellbutrin and Prozac, and those sorts of things. And I would have a side effect to one of those things to where I didn't feel good. And so then he would write me another prescription for that side effect that I was
Got
having.
it. Got
One
it.
point, I was taking like 7 medications from this guy, including an antipsychotic
What was
and
his name? A medical, what was it?
a medicational psychiatrist.
And that's what they do. You know that, don't you? They med you up, and that's all they do. And though that's what they do, they med you up one upon the other. Got a side effect? Here's another drug. Got a side effect? And here's another drug. So they're living up to their name. Keep going. So he
I
kept
was
prescribing.
no longer flying
Yeah.
high. I was just a zombie. I could eyes
Yeah.
open, and I was just going through the motions. It's a wonder that I survived all of that. And then eventually I came to the point where I realized, like, this guy does not have my best interest at heart. I need
No.
to draw back. And so I started tapering off myself. And I
Well done.
got very involved in the safety and the efficacy of like which medications you could safely cut back, which ones you could combine, all of those sorts of things. I was very knowledgeable
So
in the.
you did a bit of the doctor's job. You did what they didn't do. I also want to pause here and say I actually have a toxic liver because they didn't monitor the meds I was on for years and years and years. So that's why I had to get off similar to you. And I just want to say you're very intelligent to be able to do that for yourself. You've saved your own life. I
Yes.
do know that. I know that you have saved your life. So I just want to again acknowledge and credit you with that capacity and that ability to be able to do that, to work it out for yourself. It's incredible. Keep going, darling.
So yeah, eventually I would kind of work on one at a time, and I would just take less and less and less until eventually
One.
there's no more of that.
Oh,
And
well
then I
done.
stopped seeing that guy altogether.
Yeah.
And I took my power back in a sense because I realized like this
Yep.
is not helping me in any. I went to this guy with my hands out hoping that he would help me, and I realized that it only made the problem worse. And meanwhile, I'm still taking the Suboxone all along. That never went away. That was a different doctor.
Wow. Wow.
He
And
said
I'm
that.
just thinking about the people that don't have that inner strength that you do, that I do. And it's not saying people aren't strong at all, that go for help and they're just numbed and drugged. There's so many here. The medical health system here for people with any sort of abuse or addiction is horrendous, is very lacking. So across the globe, there's a very similar thing that's happening. It just, yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. What do you feel about that? You also can see that?
Oh yeah, I can see it. And
Hmm.
I didn't start to notice like all of the like file a lawsuit if you've been addicted to this medication or whatever, and after gotten off all the drugs, and I thought, you know what? I
Yeah,
could, but I've washed my hands of it. I don't want to be
that's
involved.
right. Wasn't meant to be for you. Yeah, good on you, darling. Good on you. Wow, wow, wow. So with the doctor and then weaning yourself off, then what was your next steps?
Um, well, at
Because
that,
all of this impacts the physical. That much medication, I'm sure you're going to talk about later on, but that really hammers your physical, your organs. I know there's a lot of stuff that happens. Are you going to share a little bit about that, or am I jumping ahead here? I'll stick with your timeline. So you weaned yourself off?
well, yeah, we'll certainly get to the. I mean, the physical aspects. It was horrendous, and
Oh,
also my diet wasn't very good at the time. I wasn't paying attention to like eating healthy foods or anything like that. But I had acne. I was overweight. I did not feel good. I
no.
don't. I felt at all, to be honest with you. I was just kind of going through the motions. I didn't know
What
what
was
it
your
was.
turning point? What was your turning point? This what just came. What was your turning point? Because I'm getting it. I'm saying, what was your turning point?
My grandmother Barbara, who I
Yeah.
was very close with, she passed away
Oh,
um late in the year, and she had mesothelioma, and she went from being around and being happy and bubbly, and then 3 months we found out she was sick, and 3 months later she was gone. And it shook me so much, and I just it led me to ask, why, what are we doing here? There has to be more to this.
okay.
That was the first thing that really just kind of rattled my cage. And I cried and cried and cried,
Oh,
and then about um not long after she had passed, um I was approached by my father with some LSD. And he had taken it the day before and said, "You need to try this."
mm,
And I'd never done anything like that before. I'd taken mushrooms in the past as a kid, but I had never done LSD before. And so I went over to his house and I took this LSD, probably a rather large dose for my first time. And when it initially started to set in, there was some panic and some confusion. I didn't quite know what was going on.
mm.
Um, After I kind of realized like this is not going away. I just need to like settle in. I laid down on the floor. The dog came over to comfort me, and I closed my eyes, and there's my grandmother with her hand out saying, "Come with me, take my hand." And so I surrendered completely. I took her hand and I was pulled away from my body, away from any sort of pain, and I was whisked away to what I could only describe as a place of pure, unconditional love. There was no thought. There was only just being, just pure love, and it felt as if somebody had a pleasure magnet and it was just running it up and down my spine in the most beautiful pattern of like a figure eight, and it just and I was so just enraptured in this feeling of love, and it just kept telling me, this is always here for you. This is always here for you. And then I would
Wow.
snap back into my body, and I and I
Wow.
and I would be like, what happened? I was there. I was there.
Damn.
I was there. And then I realized, like, at that point there was no more panic anymore, and so then all I had to do was close my eyes, and I would
Wow.
I would be right back there, and I
I
could see
felt all that with you. Keep going. I
the
just,
swirl in
you
front of
just
me.
took us for a journey, brother. You just took us with you. I was just speechless, which is a big thing for me, but it was speechless in that moment. That came through. I felt it all.
That changed my life.
Oh,
That I had no more fear
what a
of death at
gift for us.
that
Thank
point.
you. Yep.
However, it was difficult too, because although I had lost my fear of death, I had also gotten to a point to where I had felt something that was just so real and so true and
Oh,
so,
yeah. How
and
do
then
you
I
remain here knowing that? Yeah. Sorry, you go.
back back to physical life, and just being
Yeah.
9 to 5 and
Ooh.
going to work every day, and I thought, this is bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
what is the point?
Okay.
Like, and I didn't want to be here at
But
that
that
point.
was your death point in a past life too. That was definitely a death point from a previous time, dispensation coming back in, and what I'm still marveling. We're moving on because we need to, but I just want to take a moment for what you just shared. That was you made that so real and palpable in your sharing just then. And I often say that when someone close to us dies, it's a gift. They've left us with a massive gift, and here you are telling the story of that gift. And I was wondering when I asked, what was your turning point? Boy, I didn't expect that bloody big of a turning point to be here. It had to be something big from what you were telling me. I'm like, hang on, you've done this, this, this. Usually people don't do that. People are not doing that. It's quite rare. I know it does happen, people, if anyone's going, yes, it does, it's not about that. you know so it's quite, I just need to ground you and anchor you in with that. I know that we're talking, but I can't go past that for some reason. That experience is something we need to anchor and ground in by you telling us here today, bringing that energy in down through our body, because it's going to come down into your hips, into your legs, knees, your feet, and we're going to anchor this into the ground. And I'm seeing brown, 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 which is like earth colors through your feet and down further into the core. Oh, there it is, of Mother Earth and Gaia. And there's a reconnection that just happened just then. I just jerked. Did you feel? What are you feeling?
Feel it.
If anyone's not watching, if you could see the grin on his face, the smile on your face was just beautiful, anchoring and grounding that energy in. Thank you, because that's a blessing in a way for us. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful gift in you personally sharing. That's why these are different. We slow it down. We slow it down and feel the whole. I'm feeling a lot of changing in the movement and slowing down and grounding and anchoring. What are you feeling with all of that?
I feel it. Yeah, I feel it grounded in and anchored in to a whole new degree. It had always been just a point in my life that I wanted to get back to that point, and I was never able to get back to that point. But now I realize that it wasn't meant to be something
Mm.
to get back to, but it was meant to be integrated, and I never properly integrated that. So
And
thank
that's what we've just come through here with the podcast today. It's what you're going to say. It's phenomenal. Oh my goodness. How exciting. And if we don't get excited after all these years, what's the bloody point? As you said, what's the point? Wow. What a coming home, energetically linking spirit to soul, down to Mother Earth, back up to source. is just beautiful. It's a completion of sorts energetically for you in sharing this. What are you getting to share about next? We're going to wind up. I'm giving you, we're going to wind up probably 10 minutes or so. And the reason I say that is we can talk here for hours. When you live in infinite energies, and that's the energies Steve and I live in, you need to set energy boundaries for your mind. But otherwise, we could be here for 5 hours and it would feel like 1 hour for us, or half an hour. I'm just letting others know. So that's why I'm saying about 10, I say, Stephen, but it's going to be complete when it's complete. So where do you want to go from here? That we just did a big clean slate. And so I just
So
want to regroup for a minute. And where do you feel to go from here with?
that was one of the major turning points in my life. And so the very next day after that experience,
Yep.
I, t- I took half as much of the Suboxone. I looked at it in the morning and I said, you know what?
Wow.
I don't
You
need
can
that.
do it.
I'm
Yeah.
going to take that. And I felt fine. I
I
felt
know
fine.
the feeling. Yes, yes,
I
that's
realized at that
phenomenal.
realized at that point I'm no longer going to remain in a static state. And so I steadily cutting my dose down and cutting my dose down until I had to use tweezers. This took many years. And then
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
took a very long time for me to get
Yeah.
there, but eventually I was taking, so these little strips were probably about an inch long by a half inch long. And I would cut it with scissors. Eventually I needed fine point tweezers to pick up about a 64th of this one strip. And that was my dose. And then we lead up to
Wow.
November of 2020. And I had felt it coming in October. And I knew that I needed to make a complete change. I needed to get off of this stuff.
Yep.
Otherwise, I feared losing my soul. That's the only way that I could describe it at the time.
Yep. Yep.
And so the way that it came about, and I was listening to a podcast where a numerologist was talking about how November 11th of 2020 was coming up. And she said, whatever you do on this day will be amplified because of the numerology. And I got to the point, and I was working a job where I had a whole bunch of sick time available. I went and talked to my boss before then. I said, I'm going to be very ill. I laid it all on the line. I said, I've been taking this stuff for years and years, and I'm
Wow.
off of it. I'm going to be very sick. So I cashed in 3.5 weeks of sick time. And
Yep.
November 11th, I was done. I gave it all away. I gave it to my dad. He was still prescribed it at the time. I said, I don't want this anymore. Here you go.
Well
And he
done.
said, no, no.
Wow.
He said, just take one just in case. He's like, I've tried to get off the stuff before and it was very hard. And I said, no, you're not hearing me. I said, I don't care whatever it feels like, however bad it is. I'm not doing this anymore because the pain of every time that I put that under my tongue, I would just cry inside. And the pain of that got worse. Any fear of how bad the withdrawals could be. And I knew it was time to change. And
I
so,
just felt that pain release out of your heart just then. I
yeah,
just need to take a minute. I got tears. It was a really big point telling your dad that something massive happened then. Just give me a minute to process and release that for you and with you. Well done. You broke the chain. You broke that. And I'm just so proud of you for your children. Oh, gosh. Woo, Stephen. Let's let them come if they need to come as we continue. That was a really another big turning point. It was not even a turning point. It's not even those words. That was just something else. Keep going if you feel to, whatever you feel to. If you want to pause, if you want to keep talking, I'm just needed to pause because when people talk, my energy is very large and I embody and I feel an uptake and release with people. That's why I choose who comes on here. And it's only for people that have earned it. This is for others. Only people that have earned it that I choose to share my energy with because it's 2 to 3 times bigger than everyone else's. And I'm a mirror of a mirror and often say you're welcome to your reaction for you if you're triggered with any of these videos. So that's why I'm feeling so much as a grandmaster of 20, 30 years in 10th dimensional embodiment, working on myself for that long. Okay, big shift and release happening right now, Stephen. You're upgrading right now with that about your dad. That was massive. Remember we were saying to people, we can't plan, we don't know. Well, this one is huge. We're releasing this. And as I'm releasing these older energies, it's for you, your father, and down your generational line, that this is not going to continue from what you have done when you pulled away from your father in that way. Wow. Did you feel that beautiful golden yellow just came up and released out of your solar plexus? A new freedom energy? What are you feeling?
I feel so much lighter.
Oh, it was a big miasma. That was a family miasma pattern that was over you, your family. Voicing to heal here today has cleared that out of your energy field. And before we came in, one of the things I wrote to you was there is a lot to clear out of your aura and energy field. And when we do so much ourselves, sometimes we need someone else to come in and help us to help ourselves. And that was a case of this with today. So this is part of that we got that message from Spirit about clearing, cleansing out of your aura. Who would have thunk? Who would have known it was going to be this? And 100% it's this. And this beautiful yellow, your solar plexus is a new freedom, free. So on another whole other level beyond words. And that's why you just said you feel lighter. And I'm putting words after 30 years working inwards. I can put words to what Stephen is feeling and what I'm feeling. And that's why we slow down to take the time to explain to people through our personal life experiences. What you're sharing, Stephen, is phenomenal. It is a big deal. It does take a lot to reveal, because you've got partners, you've got parents, you've got kids, you've got friends, people who may see this, and to expose ourselves it takes a lot. So again, I want to thank you. We're not finished yet. We are, so I just want to honor that healing that just happened. So that was another slate clearing. So we'll be finishing up shortly, Stephen, but I want you to feel finished. There's no rush. So knowing this is your winding up for what you would like to continue to share to feel fulfilled, please continue.
So at that point, after I had effectively gotten rid of any of the Suboxone, whether it be in my possession or in my bloodstream, I wrote it out. I did not sleep for 3.5 weeks. Just the worst withdrawals that I had ever felt. I slept in another bed away from my spouse so that I didn't disturb. And I was lucky if I maybe slept for 15 minutes at a time. And I would wake back up and I would toss and I would turn and that went on for
It's a living hell is the only way to explain that kind, and it's beyond those words. I've been through something horrific myself. That's not my place today to tell that story. It is, you can't even recapture, you wouldn't want to recapture what that was like. Even you telling this doesn't cover it, what it was like to be in it. Yeah.
it took months and months to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as I did, I started to feel again. And I did not mask
Wow.
those feelings. And it was so intense
Oh, oh,
feeling
oh.
emotions and not running to something and covering them up. Mind you, I still would occasionally smoke a little bit of pot now and then.
Good for you to help ease it. I'm like, good for you.
I needed to do something.
Yeah.
My nervous system was fried at that point. It
100%.
helped
Yeah,
me give me somewhat of a smooth landing
that's it.
after I
I
hit
didn't.
the
I
bottom.
didn't. I didn't have the smooth landing. I was convulsing at night, every night for 3 months, convulsing, lifting off the bed. And Michael had to put his hand on my stomach just to stop me convulsing. It was hell. It was hell. So that's why I'm saying I really do understand.
The
Keep
beautiful part
going.
about this was my father was still addicted to the Suboxone and had been like
Mm,
But after he saw me get off of it,
Yeah,
realized it was possible. And he
exactly.
talked to me. This was maybe 3 or 4 months after I had gotten off, and he said, "I'm going for it. I'm getting it." And he did. He followed through, and I was so happy that I was able to show
Oh,
him possible, and we were able to break that chain. And the greatest part is that my kids don't have to experience that anymore. I get to be
yes.
and I get to feel all the emotion, and I feel just so much
Oh,
love and just so much
oh,
happiness through me every day, and it grows and grows, and I'm so grateful that I got to the point where I was able to come home and to feel again, and to know what it's like to have joy and to have peace. And yeah, I have hard days, but they're the greatest hard days ever. And I'm truly at a point now to where I'm happy when I wake up, and I have so much gratitude.
oh,
And
I've got tears with you.
it's taken
It's
go through
real.
all
I
of
can
that
feel.
stuff
Mhm,
to bring
mhm,
me to that point. And
mhm.
it's really I reframed it in some way to where I was angry at my father before, but now I see it as a gift of
Yeah.
him handing me that. It was almost like he was handing me just generations of family trauma that he wasn't prepared to deal with on his own. And so he handed it to me, and I took it, and I went through all that pain and came out on the other side so that we could break the cycle, so that it does not have to be passed down to the future generations.
La. Wow. What a phenomenal, incredible story, breakthrough, just phenomenal. And your dad wasn't able to. And I know you know that. He wasn't able to. And it did take you, and it was in him. And that is just absolutely amazing. And as you said, that to have that gratitude, and because you know what it's like to wake up and still be alive, and that's what you're grateful for, is to wake up and still be alive. Oh, Stephen, that is just, I did not know what was going to come today. All of that is just next level. It'll take a couple of times to watch this, people, to take it all in, everything that Stephen's sharing, to where he is now. And where are you now? Just briefly in closing, where are you now?
um I'm at a place to where I just have so much gratitude, just so much joy, so much love, and I feel myself vibrating a lot of times throughout the day, and it feels incredible. And
Yeah.
there are times to where I get angry or I get upset, but also I've
The
just become
ebbs and flows of life is normal to be like that. Yep. It's, yeah.
I'm
Keep going.
aware of it. I'm aware
Yeah.
of it. I don't identify with any one state or the other, and I'm taking life as it comes. And
Consciously in the flow of
yes,
the infinity, consciously in that flow. I'm hearing you. It's very real. Because if anyone listening to that would go, no, no, he's very real. This is very real to get here, and it's a kick-ass spiritual warrior that's very soft and gentle and compassionate on the inside, and to be walking in neutrality, walking in that flow, and embracing all of it. And what's happening is your consciousness about everything is the golden key that links everything together. And that's why this is get real and feel consciously. Stephen, thank you for coming today. What a gift and a blessing you are. And it's just a blessing to know you, and to have been part of your healing journey has been wonderful. And I look forward to people's comments and replies in watching this today. Is there anything in closing that you'd like to share?
um, yeah. If anybody is feeling like they're trapped, to just know that you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to remain in that static place. Like it's small steps, and it's hard, and it takes a long time, but you don't have to stay there. And I thought I would be there forever, and if I was able to get through what I got through, then anybody could certainly get out of any hard position.
Well done, well said. And it's one little step. Just taking the first one is, and the rest will unravel itself. It's not about being concerned about it the long time in the years, because yes, it does. But when you take that first little step, and today could be the first step. So bless and thank you, Stephen. Number 4 is going to be Rachel Brown talking about kidnapped. Her father was one of the stolen generation. It's going to be a sensitive one, which I will put a little message at the beginning about the Indigenous, the Aboriginal, because this is a very, very, very deep space that we're going to be talking about when Rachel shares about her father being, and they call themselves being kidnapped. So we're not doing small things here. We're doing some really big, real life stuff. And thank you so much for coming on, Stephen. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I look forward to people joining in the next one, and watch this back more than once. Bless. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks, everybody. Bye.